So it's a different day. I tried the 72 cylinder to make my first sock, and it was way too big. So now I've gone back to the 54 cylinder. So I used the same program from Nitpicking and plugged in all my numbers and information and got different sets of rows for each section, basically. Okay, so it's going to be the same type of sock, except all the rows will be kind of altered as I go along. Um, I've put on the sock bonnet. I'm trying to use a ravel cord this time. So I put the sock bonnet on, I put one ravel cord between the sock bonnet and the waist yarn. Just to hopefully just pull that out and make it nice and easy when I want to remove the sock. I did my waist yarn. I put another ravel cord between the waist yarn and what the real sock will be. So hopefully that comes off nice and easy as well. I don't know if that's going to make my life easier or not. I have never really worked with a ravel cord, but I'm going to try that. Okay. I did make a video regarding ravel cord. The one that I'm using basically is, I don't know if you can see that right side proper, but it's Aunt Lydia's, what is it? Crochet thread. It's mercerized cotton. It's not as slippery as I would like. So I'll keep an eye out for something a little bit more slippery to pull out, but it did pull out, decently. So it is definitely usable. Okay. I would definitely suggest, I got a nice kind of yellow color. I thought it would be great. But the color I'm using for my sock is kind of a beige. So I'm thinking maybe I'll get next time like a really funky color that I'm not likely to ever use for socks, so that it is very easy to tell apart. So let's get started, and I'm going to rearrange the camera, and then we can get started on the hung hem. Okay, so I basically have set up. I've checked my cam was at 24.9 millimeters when I used this particular yarn. I've already done a tension tube and checked out what it is I needed. I got the gauge from that. There are, of course, other ways to use it. I've used other ways, for example, that you're literally looking at the, and I have a video on this, where you're just kind of turning the knob, and then going back until obviously there's no skipped needles, everything, nothing's rising in terms of the thread and so forth. Okay, and I found that useful as well. The row gauge for this particular yarn here, it's Diamond Select Footsie. It's 10 rows per inch on my machine. That's for the row gauge. The stitch gauge is 7.7 stitches per inch. Okay, so I'm trying to make a sock that's 7.5 inches basically. And so basically I plunked this all into the actual program, and it spit out various rows that I need to do. So I wanted to do basically a hung hem, and I'm going to use a heel spring throughout the entire sock for myself, just to make it tighter for myself. Okay, so it tells me that I need to have basically 20 rows for the cuff, and then I have to hang the hem. Now, I'm not going to go through in great depth for each part of the sock because I've got individual videos for each one of these. So if you do want to go at a slower pace and through all the nitty-gritty of the instructions, then obviously go to whatever section it is that you need. This is just basically me trying to do the overall sock and not screwing up along the way. Okay, so let me put my heel spring on. There we go. All right, let me turn on my there, put that on 0. Okay, so help. I always take off my magnet. It would help if I actually had my magnet on. There we go. Okay, so technically that was one. This should be the second one. Oh, it's not working. Why is it not working? Okay, so hold on a sec here. Now I've got to actually count. Okay, so I started 1, 2, 3, 4. So give me 1 second here. I've got to count up to see whether or not I've got it correct. Okay, so I found out the problem with my counter, why it wasn't working. I guess by moving it, I had dislodged the wires in the back there, which is why it was not reacting. So basically I ended up going 32 because of course I did an uneven amount because of the count. I just have to remember to do the cuff 32 on the other sock. Okay. So now basically I'm going to hang the hem. When I hang the hem, I always raise all the needles. Most people don't do that. I just find that sometimes as I'm trying to pull stuff up, it actually ends up causing the knitting to go over the needles, and then I have drop stitches and stuff like that. So I just find that easier for me. But again, you do whatever works for you in terms of the hung hem. So I'm going to finish that first. I'll start it off. And again, for more detail, you can watch the video that I've got on YouTube there on the hung hem. Okay, I'm hoping. So the problem I have is that I'm using a ravel cord that's very similar to the sock that I'm using, and all of a sudden I went into a different row, which is not helpful. Okay, so definitely you're going to use a ravel cord or any other waste material. Make sure it's very different than the one that you're using. Okay. Okay, so I'm just coming around. I'm just going to stop just a little bit before here. Okay. I always raise the needles up just a little bit to make sure all the latches are down, so I don't have any drop stitches when I'm doing that first row there. The next thing I'm going to need to... Okay, so I'm going to do the 38 rows for my leg. I'm going to hopefully hope that the counter works properly here, but let me check. Okay, so let's try. All right, so we have... There we go. Yeah, it works. Okay, so I'm just waiting for 38. I got 35, 36, 37. And we're doing 38. Okay. So at this point here, if I look at the next thing, I don't have a pre-heel in my particular one. Now I'm going to have to start with the heel. Okay. So to do that, actually, I'm going to take out my little trusty instructions for making my heel because, you know, my memory, it is terrible. Okay. So I'm going to start at the 6 o'clock position. So I'm going to go around here, down to my 6 o'clock position here. And then I'm going to start doing the instructions for my heel. So let me just set everything up that I need for that, and I will be back. Okay, so basically I brought it to the 6 o'clock position. I've put the back half of the needles up. I always leave the one directly behind 3 down and the one directly behind 9 o'clock down. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail in terms of how to make a heel or a toe. I've got videos that go through step by step what it is that you need to do. So basically I'm just going to kind of go through it and we'll cross our fingers that nothing screws up. I do have to readjust my buckle here because at this point it is pretty much touching the ground there, and I'll see you shortly. So I'm doing a rounded heel. So basically the last two before my heel markers, I put the last two up together on both sides there, basically before I start going back the other way. Okay. Okay, so then again, because I lifted the last two, I'm going to put them down on both sides and then continue going back up to where my stitch markers are. And again, I don't put them down all the way because again, I don't want the latches going up because then there's a greater chance for things to miss. So I will make sure that they're just over the yarn, but they're just slightly higher. Okay. Okay, so then I'm supposed to go to the second last one before the end, which I am at that one there. So it says lower the second last needle, oh, on the left, sorry, hold on, let's do that. Okay, so we got that here. Cool. We're going to lower this one here. Okay, and then stop the carrier at 6 o'clock. So give me a sec. Okay, so I brought it to 6 o'clock. Okay, I just have to reread my instructions to make sure I'm not going to screw up here at this point. So I'm going to take off the stitch markers, okay, that I placed at the beginning here because I'm basically back to the beginning. I'm going to place it because later on, actually no, sorry, this is the heel, so I don't care so much. When I do the toe, I'm going to place them at the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock so that I know where to do my Kitchener stitch, but right now this is the heel, so I really don't care about that, that's true. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that off, okay, and then basically I'm going to lower all of them back here. And I'm going to leave them just a little bit raised, as I said, because of the fact, even though I put them down all the way, okay, to make sure that all the needles are lying flat, that there's no chance, like on this side here, I'm seeing that some of the latches are kind of halfway up. So I want to make sure that they're all the way fully down here for that first row as I'm going around, okay. And looks good. Okay, so then it says that for the bottom part of the foot I need to have 50 rows, so I've reset it. Okay, so then we will start with that and go all the way up to 50. So I will come back. Well, let's do the first one. The first one I'm always concerned about because of the fact that you're starting it, so we'll go through really slow. All right, everything looks good. Okay. All right, so what I forgot to mention is do not take off your heel weights because of course everything will screw up. It does need that kind of lifting of it basically, and obviously your weights for the other half is needed as well. Once you've gone to probably at the end of the foot, at that point I can take off the heel weights because the heel is no longer I don't have to worry about it unraveling or dropping stitches or anything, okay? So I'm going to do my 50 and then I'll come back. Okay, so I finished my heel, I readjusted my weights and all that sort of stuff. So now I've done my 50 rows for the foot section. I am now going to be doing my toe exactly the same way as my heel, although the ending will be slightly different because I'm doing the Kitchener stitch. I'm going to turn off my thing there. So basically I've put everything up like I did before. I've got, except for the one right before 3 o'clock and the one exactly right before 9 o'clock there, and I'm going to do exactly what I did before. So I'll do my toe, and then I'll come back at the end of my toe because it's going to be basically, lifting one all the way here. I want a rounded toe, so the last two will be lifting 2 at a time. Then I will put 2 down on each side as I'm going, and then go all the way back, and then I'll come back and let you know how things are going at that point. Okay? Okay, so I've gotten up to the point where, like I did the heel, for example, I lowered the second last, I just lowered the second last needle on the left-hand side. I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop my carrier at 6 p.m. I'm going to put down all of my needles at the back. I'm going to take off my stitch markers. The difference, though, is that after I do that, I want to put a little safety pin or stitch marker through the 2 bars at the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position, because that's going to tell me exactly where my Kitchener stitch should start and where it should actually finish. Okay? Once I do that, I'm going to go, well, let's do that first and I'll come back. Give me a sec. Okay, so I put basically a stitch marker through 2 little bars at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. You'll notice because of the heel weights that they are kind of going diagonal, so you got to figure out exactly which ones belong to the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock mark. So now I'm going to, I've left them up just slightly higher, as I said, because again, I wanted the latches down for that first row. So I'm going to just knit 1 additional row. I'm going to stop at 3 p.m. Okay, so let's do that. Make sure everything goes okay. Good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go one past the 3 o'clock position. So and then I'm going to leave a tail going around my cylinder 3 times. It is more than I absolutely need for the Kitchener, but you certainly don't want to be short for that, right? So as you do more and more, I would imagine you'll be able to figure out that, oh, I only need to go around 2.5 times or something like that. And so then I'm going to add in, so once I do that, I'm going to add in the waste yarn. So let me measure out my 3.5 cylinder, widths or whatever to do the Kitchener stitch. So give me 1 second. Okay, so basically I've left my 3.5 inch tail. I've put it in there. I've just switched over to the waste yarn. I'm going to do about 4 or 5 inches of waste yarn. And then basically, literally I'm going to start my second sock and do exactly the same thing. So I'll come back at the end of that when we're taking everything off and see what it looks like, okay? Okay, so I was doing the second sock, doing the second hem, of course, and of course I had to not necessarily, one stitch did not knit itself. So I've done a video on how to knit a stitch that you might have done in the past. I would have cried and I would have undone everything and started from scratch. You do not need to do that. So basically what you're going to do, okay, so basically for this one here, okay, what you want to make sure is, first of all, the loop does need to be above this latch, okay, which it's not at this point, which is not helpful. So give me a second here. There we go. Okay, and then basically as soon as we have that, just gonna pull it right over, and it is knit. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna continue on with hanging the hem, and I will get back to you towards the end there, assuming I don't screw up again. Okay, I finished both socks, as you can see. Okay, so there's sock number 1. No, hold on, sorry. Hold on here. Okay, sock bonnet. So sock number 1 with the hung hem there with the heel and the toe. I've got some waste yarn. I put ravel cord again on this next one, so I did exactly the same thing all the way down. Okay, so now it's just a matter of, I'm going to remove my ravel cords, so from here and here. And then I'm going to remove my ravel cord from here to separate the 2 socks. I'm going to do my Kitchener stitch. And then we'll come back and I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to let it wash, try it on, and hopefully we're tickety-boo and good to go and no major problems, but we shall see, okay? So I took off the ravel cord from my sock. I don't know if the problem is mine or, thank you, Cisco. I'm not sure if the problem is mine or if the ravel cord I used just wasn't slippery enough. Okay, sweetheart. Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, okay. All right, don't step on the computer. Yes, I love you too. Okay, but I had a hard time taking the ravel cord out. So I was able to take it out, like 3/4 of the way, but then I had to cut the ravel cord and then the rest of it came out. It was a pain to take it out from the sock bonnet rings. So again, I'm not sure if a ravel cord's meant to be attached to the sock bonnet or not, or just other yarn, but if somebody could tell me in the comments, that would be awesome, because I don't know what I did wrong that's causing it to be a bit of a pain for me. Okay. Anyways, here's the sock. Okay, so there we go. We've got the heel, we got a kitchen or the toe there. I got to try it on, find out if it fits. And then basically we'll come back and try them on. Once I've got it done, I'll let it sit. I'll wash it to make sure that, you know, everything kind of, all the stitches kind of go into proper place, and then we'll see whether or not I was successful. All right, see you soon. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do the Kitchener stitch. I'm going to use a darning needle. You don't want anything sharp, obviously. Every time I do the Kitchener stitch, it seems that I somehow drop a stitch somewhere along the way. So I thought, you know what, let me count out the stitches to make sure, because I've used the 54 cylinder. There should be 54 stitches going all the way around. So basically, where would this be here? So at the top here, okay, I started with this one here because I can figure out the tail that I left, which stitch it is, right? So I put that as number 1. And basically, because I know it's 54, I can divide it into 9s quite easily. So basically, I just kind of went around 9, 9, 9, 9. There's 2 at this end, just like there's 2 at this end, right? And then everything else divides up properly. So ideally, if I've done it correctly, because I haven't used this method before, is that these 2 should line up when I do it. These 2 should line up when I do it. So that should tell me that everything is working fine and I didn't drop a stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it out, see if it works, and then if you see me again, you know that there's some sort of problem. Anyways, so I'm going to start it off and see how it goes. So not to have dog ears. And so basically I have a video on how to be very, very specific about you know, the slow motion of doing the Kitchener stitch itself. So that's, you know, an easier one to watch than to do this, because I will go through this fairly quickly. But let me start it off and then I'll come back. Okay, so in order to have this happen, it should be, this is the first stitch. This was basically the 54th stitch. So you basically want to start off with going the first, start with the 2 stitches at once, going down. So down 1 stitch, which would be this one here. So when I say going down, you're going towards the sock, okay, material. I'm going to go down a 2nd stitch, okay, towards the sock material. Oh, let's not keep that out of the way here. I'll need that to unravel later. Okay. And then we're going to go up towards the waist, towards the waist yarn. Okay. I'm not going to pull it really tight at the beginning. Okay. I will be pulling it tighter later. Okay. So now basically I'm going to go to the other side. All right. All right, so I'm going to go up through the first stitch, then, sorry, is it, no, hold on, was it up? Sorry, it's down, down, up, sorry, let's get that out. Oh no, it's caught. There we go. Okay, so then we go down through the first stitch, oh, try not to make any knots. Okay, down through the first stitch, down through the 2nd stitch, whatever I'm doing, I'm making knots to myself here, there we go, and then up through the 3rd stitch. Okay, all right, so we'll start pulling that a little bit together. Okay, I'm going to pull it too tightly at the beginning there. Okay, and then basically once we've done that, we're going to go back onto the left hand side. We're going to go down 1 stitch and then up. on either side, just going back and forth, okay? So the next stitch is down, so basically we go down the previous stitch, okay, so wherever it came out of, okay? So we're going to do down this stitch, and we're going to go up this stitch, okay, and this is becoming a pain, there we go, okay. Then we go on to the other side where the yarn went through, okay, so you can see it's this loop here. So we're going to go down this stitch and then up the next stitch, okay. I'm going to pull a little bit, tug it, because you're literally trying to replicate, okay, so let's see if we can pull this through a little bit here. All right, make sure that everything's, there we go. Okay, we can't really see anything at this point yet. Okay, I'll take a little bit more, but then you're going to start seeing these stitches right here, okay? All right, so then basically I got to go back to the other side. Where did the yarn go into? Okay, so I went into this stitch here, so I'm going to go down in this stitch. Up in the next stitch. I'm going to go back into the other side here, where it's coming out of here, so that's the stitch I want to go down. And the next one, I want to go up. Okay. So again, pulling that in. So you can start seeing, okay, it's difficult to see a little bit, but you can start seeing basically the stocking knit stitches that you're making along the way. So I'm going to keep going, and I'll come back if I screw up. Otherwise, you'll see me towards the end, because I'm just going to go literally all the way down, assuming all of these pins match up the way they're supposed to. Okay? Okay, I'm back. I didn't screw up. I continued doing the down and up. I've gone literally into the 2 stitches. They've matched up. Okay, the 2 stitches that 2 stitch markers that I put in. Okay, so I'm going to remove them, obviously. So far so good. Okay, let's take these out. Hold on a second. There we go. Take that out. Take that out. You can even go further, for example, coordinate like the colors so that you know, okay, these 2 are blue, these 2 are green, whatever, right? Like it just depends on what you want to do with yourself. You'll also see, okay, that you've got the stocking knit stitch right there. And if I try to check, right, are they approximately the same size? Yes, okay. So you are trying to, you know, to kind of tighten it enough that it's approximately the same size, okay. So let me keep going. Okay, so I just thought of something. I hit the next 2, which is great. So I should be catching every single stitch. But when I passed the first 2 up here, I took them out. And I'm thinking, you know what, maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do, because if I take them out and I know I've hit them, and let's say I miss something along the way, all of a sudden I can't go back, like undo it back to where I was before and start again, right? So I would have to undo everything, find my markers again, and then start all over. So it might be something to consider that you may want to keep the markers in, depending on what you're using. Like I'm using, these are nice long, they're very, very thin, so they work really well. It depends on what it is you've got, right? So it, you know, like I had the other knitting ones that are a little bit thicker in their plastic, and they would not fit very well. Like they wouldn't work very well for this. As you can see, we're getting close to the end, so obviously that's where it starts to get really important, because if I'm going to drop a stitch, it's always either at the front end or the back end that I'm going to drop a stitch. I don't usually drop anything in the middle, but that's just me. Okay. Okay, so I'm at the very end. It gets really hard to see the stitches at the end, so it is really nice to have this, even though they are a little bit of a pain when they get in the way there. So basically, I've got, to look at it here, I've got, if I go down into the previous one, so down, I've got 1 here, down, and I'm going to come up here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then obviously I will finish off my my bunch. So you're looking at basically 2 on each side, and obviously the previous stitch before that. Okay? Okay, so I finished it up. So I'm going to remove the, remove my waste yarn here. Okay? And it's assuming that my needle, my darning needle, didn't go through any of the actual threads and split the threads. It should come off nicely, and then we'll take a look and see what we got. And there you have it. I haven't washed it yet, but I'm about to wash it. It feels really comfy, actually. I'm not one for wool socks, actually. This is wool with nylon, but really, really nice. I don't think you can actually see the Kitchener stitch here. Okay. Now I've got to figure out how to, I put it inside and I tried to weave it through, and usually I have no problems weaving it through, but it looks like it shows a little bit here, so I'm not quite sure. And I hope to God I didn't drop anything here. What is that? I don't know why. I seem to always have a little bump here, but it's not a drop stitch, so I'm not sure. I'll have to ask somebody. But it looks great, and I am very happy with the result. So I hope you guys have the same luck that I did. Have a great day, guys.